The number one rule in business is to survive. And today on the show, I want to share with you guys the 5 action items that you can take not only to survive, but push through, to overcome the issues that you're dealing with in a business, and ultimately set yourself for progress and profitability in your company. But before I do that, I want to share a quick story with you guys. And this is all started back in 2003. That's when I started my first business. It's 21 years ago. And it was a business in the luxury transportation services industry. Limos, party buses, luxury vans, right? And we started that business, my partner and I, with 2 vehicles. I think we invested like about $6,000 or $7,000 in those 2 cars. And the first 2 to 3 years were rough. I remember working 18 felt like 24 hours a day. I remember waking up early in the morning at 4:30 in the morning, being a dispatcher, answering calls, making sure the drivers were in the right location. I remember going to sleep at 11:30, 12 o'clock, 1 o'clock at night, again, making sure that the drivers are picking up and dropping off customers. So that was the case for almost 3 years. And I loved it. I loved every single moment of it. Yes, there were days when things were definitely very, very tough and there were struggles. But ultimately, we built a solid business. So finally, by 2006 and 7, we started seeing the fruits of our labor. We started making money, started taking some days off, taking a couple of vacations here and there. By that time, we had over 20 vehicles in our fleet. We had close to 40 employees, full-time, part-time employees. We had a big office. We had a huge warehouse where we housed a lot of our cars. So things were really finally coming together. We're making good money. And 2007, 2008 happened, the Great Recession. And we're based out of Phoenix, Arizona. That's where my businesses are right now, in the brokerage space, real estate space. So Phoenix, Arizona in general, was greatly impacted by what happened in 2008. The housing market cratered. A lot of our business at that time was retail, parties, night on the towns, anniversaries, birthday celebrations. And to be honest with you, a lot of times people were just celebrating on flipping their house that they purchased 6 months ago, and they made 60, 70, 80 grand on it in 6 months, right? So there's a lot of money at that time. And that's how we generated a lot of our business. I would say about 80 to 90% of our business at that time was retail. So everything just stopped. Within months to 2 months, 3 months, everything just stopped. Our business cratered. I remember we went from literally doing over $150,000 in revenue per month to like less than $40,000, and then $30,000, and then $20,000 a month. Now, again, we have all these cars. We got all these employees, we have an office space, we have operational expenses, marketing expenses on top of that. So we had to make a lot of difficult decisions, hard choices. And it was tough. It was tough because you're talking to individuals that have been with your company from the beginning. You're talking to vendors that trusted you with the payments, and you cannot make a payment. You cannot make a payroll. You cannot pay for the cars. We had to let go a lot of our people. In fact, we let go, I would say, probably with 95% of our workforce. And that was probably the most difficult decision as a CEO of the company I had to make. On top of that, our cars, most of our cars were not running, and the bills were piling up, insurance costs, maintenance costs. So all of that was happening at the same time. And then personally, I overextended myself financially. Like a lot of people during those days, I invested in real estate, and the real estate market just collapsed. It's cratered, right? So I had 4 properties, rental properties, and I had my own personal residence as well, and all of them were underwater. I was hemorrhaging money every single month. I had tenants in those properties, but those tenants were paying less than what I owed to the mortgage companies. And then on top of that, I took out some lines of credits, or extended on that as well. So had to foreclose on all of my rental properties. Had to foreclose on our primary residence because we just owe too much money on it. While at the same time, my wife, she's pregnant with our second child. And during that time, again, I'm trying to survive when it comes to my business, not shutting down the doors because I put so much sweat equity, so much energy, so much resource, so much of everything, my love to that business, and I didn't want it to let go. I didn't want to raise the white flag. And at the same time, I'm drowning financially, personally. My wife is freaking out. And we had to make a decision where I think at that time she was about 6 or 7 months pregnant with our second child, our son. And we had to make a tough decision that she will travel to the East Coast to be with her family, while I here would figure out the things that I had to do. Moving out of our home, the bank was taking our home, finding a rental, which at that time was so difficult to find, a reputable landlord where you don't have to wonder if that house is going to get foreclosed in the next month or two. And at the same time, trying to figure out what to do with the business. So I think the lowest moment of my life during that time was, and I remember it, and that's something that motivates me pretty much every single day, was the fact that my wife was giving birth to our son, and I couldn't be there. I couldn't be there for multiple reasons. One is the fact that I was trying to figure things out here, but the second one, financially, I wasn't able to afford at that minute travel to the East Coast, to New York, to be there and witness the birth of my son. And that was hard. And there were many days and many weeks, honestly speaking, I didn't want to get out of bed. There were many days and weeks where I wanted to just give up, burn the whole thing down. And I remember at one point I was faced with about $500,000 in liabilities. With $500,000, it wasn't bankrupt, it was beyond bankrupt. It was $500,000 that I owned. But here's what we decided. We decided not to give up. My wife and I, we decided to push through. We decided to overcome. We pivoted. And that's one thing that really, if you think about it, as human beings, one of the things that separate us from the animals is the fact that we can adapt. See, dinosaurs did not adapt. We as human beings can adapt, and that's our superpower. So in order for us to survive, we have to adapt. And I was able to adapt by pivoting, moving my model from retail, all corporate. And it took time. It took 6 months, close to 12 months to finally get those corporate accounts, reaching out to those big corporate transportation companies, not here in Arizona, but across the nation, on the East Coast, New Jersey, Massachusetts, New York, flying out there, meeting with their executives, offering our services. And after about 6 months, we got our first customer or first client that we serviced from one of those largest transportation companies. And it was a win. It was finally a moment when I said, you know what, I think we can figure this out. Fast forward to 2012, after about 10 years owning that business, decided to sell it. Didn't sell for a lot of money, but it was another win. It was a progress in the right direction. And the reason I share this with you is because with everything that has been happening, regardless what type of a business that you own, I own a real estate brokerage. I've been in real estate sales for 11 and a half years. I own a coaching company, own a mortgage company or title company. So they're all connected to the real estate world. And if you're following the real estate world for the last 2.5 years, more specifically here in the United States, you understand that things haven't been really the best. In fact, things have been really rough in the past 2.5 years. For real estate agents, for real estate brokers, for buyers as well as the sellers to a degree. The number of transactions have been going down for the past 2.5, 3 years. Back in 2022, there were 5 million transactions nationwide. Last year, 2023, only 4 million. This year, I'm not sure if we're even going to hit 4 million. So that's a drop of about 20, maybe possibly 25% year over year. Well, it affects everybody. It affects real estate agents. It affects real estate brokers. The interest rates are up. That's one of the main reasons. The inventory is tight in some of the markets, even though it's been growing and expanding in the last 4, 5, 6 months. But if you look at the real estate brokerage landscape, there are brokerages that are down by as much as 40, 50% in the number of transactions and the revenue that they're generating. Same thing with the real estate agents. Those agents that used to do, let's say, 10, 15 transactions 2.5, 3 years ago, barely doing 5 or 6 transactions in 2024, right? So the numbers are down, the transactions are down, the income is down. And that's then you couple it with the NAR settlement and obviously a recession that nobody really wants to talk about, inflation that has been ravaging our country for the past 2.5, 3 years. Things are not looking up, especially for the small businesses, and especially in the real estate industry. So today I want to share with you, guys, 5 steps that you can take. These are the steps that I took back in 2008, 2009. These are the steps that I took about 2.5 years ago when we started seeing a slowdown in our industry. These are the proven steps that will help you to, first and foremost, survive, right? And ultimately thrive as a business owner. The first step, the first action that you got to take is figure out in your business right now, figure out what is the biggest constraint that you currently have in your business. The biggest bottleneck, the biggest challenge, the biggest thing that is holding your business back from achieving the goals, the targets, the results that you put forth. Now, in most of the businesses, but let's say, for example, we come back to the real estate side of the business. Most of the time, it's the biggest constraint is the fact that you're not generating enough business, right? You're not closing enough deals. When you're not closing enough deals, right, whether you're a real estate agent or you're brokerage owner, that means you're making less money. Less money, and especially if the overhead is the same as it was back in 2022 or 21, right? The expenses are higher than the money or income's coming in. So what to do, right? Well, we have to adapt and we have to, more importantly, pivot. So the first thing is we need to identify the source of the constraint, right? And let's say, for example, in this case, it's the fact that the revenues are down, the transactions are down, the agents are not producing, the buyers and sellers are not buying enough, right? That's the number one constraint. So how do we solve it? How do we fix it? Well, we can try all kinds of other things, right, and try to see if that's going to stick, or we can go really to the root, right? And the root in the situation, if you think about it, is the fact that we just need to do more of what we did in the past when it comes to getting in front of those buyers, getting in front of those sellers, or in a brokerage case, getting in front of more agents. We need to do more of marketing. We need to do more of lead generation. We need to do more branding. We need to do more than we used to do before just to get by and get the same type of results that we got back in 2021 and 2022. Okay? So for instance, if you're a real estate agent, you got to find 1 or 2 lead sources that are currently working that can get you in front of those buyers and sellers as quickly as possible, as efficiently as possible, without you spending a lot of money doing so. Now, there are many different lead sources out there, okay? But one in particular that really stands out, if you think about it, right, are open houses. Why open houses? Well, open houses are like storefronts. When you have an open house, that means that your store is open. And who's going to walk into that open house? A good chance you're going to have somebody who's a buyer, potential buyer, somebody who's a seller, a combination of both. You may even have a neighbor, but that neighbor may be a looky-loo, but maybe someone who's actually thinking of selling their house 5, 6, 7, 8 months down the road. So that's a good opportunity for you to make a connection, build a rapport, and then start developing that relationship. But here's the beautiful part about the open houses. They don't really cost that much. In fact, I remember my open house, my first open house, was not even my listing. It was not even my open house signs. I did that open house and I was able to generate one client lead. I sold their house, they bought a house with me, and they referred me 9 other clients. I made over $150,000 from one client. That was my first open house. I didn't have a listing. So open house gives you every day the opportunity to market yourself to the community, right, to that neighborhood, but also individuals that are driving into that neighborhood and want to live in that neighborhood. It gives you an opportunity every single day to hone your skills, develop those skills, to talk to these customers, clients, buyers, to offer your value proposition, to answer their questions, handle their objections, and ultimately earn their business and make them your client. So imagine if you do 3, 4 open houses a week and you get one client that is ready to work with you. It's doable, it's possible. Imagine if you treat open houses like working from the office 4 or 5 days a week. And it, again, doesn't really cost you that much money at all. Yes, it's time, but where do you rather be? At home and not meeting and talking to potential clients, or you want to be at the open house where you have every single day the opportunity to add additional client and ultimately close that transactions. Now, as a broker owner, it's the same concept if you think about it. One of the biggest struggles that most of the broker owners have is the fact that they're not able to consistently attract agents into the organization. And they're relying primarily on their current agents. Now, which is fine. Our jobs as broker owners is to recruit agents, is to develop agents and create the environment, the fulfillment side of things, where those agents stick around, right? So we're doing the development piece of it. I'm sure we all running good organizations, right? So most of your agents staying with you for years to come. But the recruiting piece of it is the most critical piece of it. Why? Because those agents that maybe did 10 deals 2, 3 years ago, now barely doing 4 or 5 deals. That's 50% drop in number of transactions for that agent. And that is across the board. I have a privilege every day to coach and work with the brokerage owners. And most of the brokerage owners, their numbers are down. Their numbers are not up. And the reason they're down is because their agents' numbers are down. So how do we solve this? We solve this by first and foremost identifying that being your number one constraint in the business. And the second thing is every single day we're doing what we're supposed to be doing, which is attracting talent to our organization. Recruiting agents. Yes, recruiting agents. So if we just do those two things, lead gen as an agent, generating buyer and seller leads consistently on a daily basis. And if we as a broker owner do lead gen when it comes to the agent opportunities, and if that's your biggest constraint, growth or lack of it, you're stagnant or your business is actually declining, that ought to be the focus. Okay, so that's activity number one. That's one action, all right? Figuring out what your constraint is and then taking that action to solve and work on that constraint. So number two, guys, so now we understand what is the biggest bottleneck that we have in our business, all right? Now we have to commit to the solution. So it all starts with a commitment. It all starts with the focus, continues with the focus, right? And ultimately, what you want to do is you want to allocate the time and develop the skill, okay? So commitment means that no matter what happens during the day, you are committing 2, 3, 4 hours a day to solving that particular constraint, that particular bottleneck or challenge that you have in your business. And yes, sometimes we have to work more hours. Sometimes we have to put our schedule in overdrive. Sometimes we go through seasons in life where it cannot just be 9 to 4 or 9 to 5 or 9 to 6. I'll give you an example. Any business that I've started and still growing my businesses, I'm up at 5 o'clock in the morning. From 5 to 7, 5 to 8, I'm working on the business. I'm working on the projects. I'm working on the tasks that will take our business to the next level. From 9 to 5, I'm managing the business. I'm maintaining the business. I'm talking. With my clients. I'm coaching. I'm leading my staff. That's something that I do from 9 to 5. But early in the morning, I'm focusing on the things that will take my business to the next level. So in your situation, it's almost kind of like having two shifts, if you will, which is fine, by the way, right? Because again, you're in a survivor mode right now. The number one thing is we got to survive. And if that means we have to wake up at 5 o'clock in the morning to work on those things, we have to do it. Now, again, if you're an agent, and you're a broker owner, it's like, well, Alan, I'm not going to be calling at 5 o'clock or 6 o'clock in the morning, 7 o'clock. That's fine. Work on your marketing during that period of time. Work on your branding. Let me ask you this. If you're a broker owner, how many agents in your market know that you exist? How many agents know that you're actually looking to partner up with them? How many agents know your value proposition? How many agents know how your agents in your brokerage benefit from your value proposition, their experiences with your brokerage? I bet that most of the agents in your market, in your community, don't know that, don't see that. And I have to be very truthful. By the way, we're in a market of 3,000 brokerage owners here in Arizona. We got over 40,000 agents. I'm not sitting here and saying that every single agent in my market knows who I am. But guess what? Every single day, I'm attempting to have at least one agent in that community know who I am and what we do and how we help agents to grow their business. So that means marketing. Working on your marketing, working on your copy, working on the content, working on your emails, letting agents know in your community that you are hiring, that you are recruiting, that you are growing, that you have something unique, something different perhaps, that can help them to grow their business. And imagine if you dedicate 1, 2, 3 hours a day, early in the morning when it's peaceful, when nobody is texting you, nobody is calling you, right? And you're just focusing on something that will help your business grow. Same thing if you're an agent. How many consumers are there? How many buyers and sellers know that you exist? How many people on Facebook or Instagram or TikTok knows that you're actually the best real estate agent in that particular town or city or state? Not that many. Why? Because we're not marketing enough. We should be letting everybody know that we are the best at what we do. That's how you're going to be able to generate enough business. At the end of the day, branding is very important, and we want to create that brand, but brand takes a lot of time. It's not going to happen overnight. Same thing with marketing. So spending that time and trying to work on that in the morning before you start your day, when things are going to be happening, and a lot of times those things are going to be happening out of our control. And they're going to be coming our way. And we have to figure it out. We have to solve it. We have to fix it. We have to manage it. And that's the day. And that happens every single day. And that's never going to go away, by the way. But the goal for us is to work on the things that help us to get those things or those issues that we currently have, the constraints that we're dealing with, for them to go away. So definitely committing to it, number one. Okay? Being hyper-focused. And what I mean by that is the fact that I talk to my coaching clients constantly about this. Let's say, for example, the agent said, well, Alan, I spent 3 hours, 4 hours on prospecting. I was like, all right, cool. How many calls did you make? Well, I made like 10 calls. All right, great. How many conversations? Oh, I had only 3 conversations. Okay. So in 3 hours, you made 10 calls. How long were those conversations? Well, those conversations were about 10, 15, 20 minutes. Okay, so literally about 40, 45 minutes, you spent 3 hours, right? What were you doing the rest of the time? Well, I got a call from this person. I got a couple of messages. I responded to a couple of emails. I checked out a property or two, this and that. So here's what happened. In reality, it wasn't really 3 hours dedicated to prospecting. It was more of like about 45 minutes. That's pretty much it. So the other 2 hours was spent on other things. So why not, for the next 3 hours, be laser focused, hyper focused on one thing and one thing only, which is like, man, I gotta talk to about 10 or 15 people and I gotta set at least 1 or 2 appointments. That's it. I'm not gonna respond to anything. I'm not gonna check my emails. I'm not gonna go on Facebook or Instagram, none of that stuff. That's exactly what I'm going to do. And that's exactly I had to do in my first 3 years as a real estate salesperson, as a real estate agent. I used to come to the office at 7 o'clock in the morning. 7 o'clock in the morning, from 7 to 7:30, I was role playing. And from 7:30 on, I'm pounding the phones. No distractions. And that's how I was able to build my business to over 75 transactions, $22 million in sales in my third year. That was back in the days. Nowadays, I probably make $40, $50 million in sales doing the same volume, right? So focus is one of the things. So commitment plus focus. And then the third thing is the skill. If you want to really get good at something, well, you got to do more of it. We get better through repetitions and iterations, right? So we got to develop that skill. How do we get better in sales? Well, we do more of it. How do we get better at marketing? We do more of it. How do we get better in negotiations? We do more of it. Yes, we can read the books. Yes, we can have coaches. All of that is important. That's part of the process. But at the end of the day, the way we're going to get better at it is by doing more of it and doing more repetitions of it. Period. And that means you have to develop your skills. And the way you develop the skills is just by doing more of what you have to do to move the needle forward. So the third thing I want to talk to you about is intensity versus consistency. Okay? And here's what I mean by that. Intensity is when you start something, you do it for a week or 2 or 3, all right? And then you stop, right? You're committed, you're focused, you dedicate time to it. It's intentional, it's intense. Let's say, for example, you're like making 30 calls a day, 2 hours a day for the next 3 weeks. That's intensity. It's great. It's a good start. You're probably going to get some wins out of it, right? But here's where you're going to make the huge difference. Here's where you're going to get the results. Here's where you're going to see the progress and ultimately the wins. It's not the intensity per se. It's the consistency. And consistency is what's going to move the needle forward. And consistency means that you're doing it for the next 2 or 3 years. Not for the next 2 to 3 weeks, but 2 to 3 years. I remember, again, going back to my story, when I started in real estate, I was cold calling expired cancels for sale by owners. Guess what? For the first 6 months, I got 0 listings. For the first 6 months, I called thousands and thousands of people, probably had hundreds of conversations. One met probably with about 40 or 50 or 60 sellers listing appointments, and I got 0 listings. That was pretty intense. At the same time, I was dealing with a lot of health issues. But here's where the consistency comes in, is the fact that I was doing it every single day, and I was doing it for weeks, and then weeks became months, and then I did it for years. I did that for 3 years nonstop, and finally, after 6 months, I got my first listing. It was a huge listing. It was only a $100,000 listing, and it was only a $2,500 commission check, but it felt like a freaking win. But it was due to the consistency, not just intensity. So everything in life that you're going to be doing, regardless, whether it's marketing, it's lead gen, it's content, it's going to the gym, right? It's taking your, like taking care of yourself physically and mentally. All of that requires consistency. There's that saying my mentor used to say, consistency takes less energy. It's hard to start and then stop and then start again, then stop and then start again. Very hard. But we have a tendency of doing so. I'll give you another analogy. Instead of focusing on one hole where we're drilling to get that oil, and we have to drill and drill and drill, maybe 50 feet deep, 100 feet deep, 200 feet deep, right? But we're drilling. We drill 1 foot or 2 feet, then we jump to another hole, then we jump to another hole, then we made 500 holes. It's the same thing when it comes to the leads. Same thing comes to marketing. We start something, and after 2-3 weeks, we jump to another lead source. And then we jump to another lead source. Same thing with videos. We do videos for a week. We didn't get any engagement. We didn't really get any views. I didn't get any followers. Didn't get any subs. And then we stop doing the videos. And then 6 months later, we resume it again. So don't stop. Stay consistent. The next thing I want to talk to you guys about is courage, right? And courage, in the scope of things, it sounds like it's a positive word. But in reality, courage, it's not a positive thing, because whatever we decide to do, we commit to something and we start doing it. There are going to be days and there are going to be weeks and possibly even months and even years when you're not going to see progress. You're not going to see results. You're going to feel like you're not winning or you're not winning enough. Trust me, been there many times and I'm still there right now, where there are days and weeks where I actually honestly just want to blow everything up. Because I'm tired of not growing fast enough. I'm tired of not seeing results fast enough or quick enough. I'm not really seeing the progress. But guess what? There is progress. The fact that we're doing it every day and trying to get better every day is progress. And that is courage. Because courage, if you think about it, there are going to be days when you're going to be questioning things. There are going to be days when you're going to be feeling discouraged. There are going to be days when you wanted to give up. There are days when you want to wave that white flag and retreat, go back to the comfort zone, go back to the something that you done before, your safety blanket. Maybe you're comfortable there more. And that's very unfortunate that if you look at it, a lot of people and also a lot of business owners decide to do. They give up. When they encounter struggle, they give up. And during that period of time, we need to have courage. Because if you really think about it, we all go through seasons. In life, we go through seasons. In business, we go through seasons. And some of us may be in winter right now, and we're busting our asses every single day to finally see the spring and ultimately summer. Some of us are in summer, and things are good, but we have to be preparing for the winter. But no matter what stage or what season you're in, business-wise or personally, there are always going to be struggles. There are all going to be problems. There are going to be issues, regardless. But we need to have courage to push through and overcome. And there's that light at the end of the tunnel, if you really think about it. It's kind of cliche, but at the end of the day, we just have to realize that nothing's going to happen overnight. Nothing's going to happen, in a month or so. Man, we got to work. And that takes years and years and years and years and years. And as long as we understand that everything that is great, everything that is special, everything that is, let's say, big, takes time to build. And we also understand that business on a daily basis will have problems. There are going to be good days and there are going to be also bad days. And we're just going to have to figure out how to cope with them and endure them. We're going to be okay. We're going to be fine. But no matter what you start, decide the path that you're going to take, you're going to have to encounter the courage piece of it. And that's something that you gotta have. And the fifth thing that I want to share with you guys is getting your mind right. And there are a few things that will help you to get your mindset thinking in a positive direction, thinking positively versus negative. I think first and foremost, you have to be in a room with people that have done what you're trying to do. Proximity leaves clues. Talking to the people that have overcome those type of situations that you're currently dealing with. Again, being in the rooms with people that have done and overcame those things that you're trying to do, I think is priceless. It's very important. The next thing I want to say is the fact that a healthy mind is a direct reflection of the healthy body. I give you a quick story, guys. A couple of days ago on Monday, woke up early at 5 o'clock in the morning, took my son to the agility session that he's got with his trainer from 5:30 to 6:15. While in the car, I don't know, I just kind of dozed off, fell asleep, woke up, my son woke me up. So came home and I said to my wife, you know what, I just need to get a 5 or 10 minute nap. That 10 minutes became like an hour and a half, close to 2 hours. Woke up very groggy, very cloudy mind. very negative. I actually started like asking myself, what am I doing? Why am I doing this? Why am I dealing with all this stuff that is happening? Like, why do I have to do this? I don't have to do this. Why can't I just live a simpler life? Why do I want to have all these responsibilities, all of these companies, managing all these people? Like, literally became very dark for me that day. That day was a dark day. I came to the office late. It was after 10 o'clock. I had a few meetings, a couple of calls, tried to do a few things, couldn't really concentrate, couldn't really focus. Again, that negative energy, that dark energy, right? Decided to go home early, like around 3 o'clock, 3:30. I said, you know what? I got to make this day productive. Went to the gym. Worked out, went to sauna, cold plunge, an hour and a half altogether. Started coming out of the gym, and I'm like asking myself, man, why was I so freaking dark this day? Why was so negative? Like, I have so many things going my way. I'm so freaking blessed. I'm healthy. And I had to deal with some serious health issues in the past 11, 12 years. My kids are healthy. My wife is healthy. I have a roof over my head. I have a beautiful home. I have investments. I have multiple companies that are growing. I got amazing employees that are in lockstep with my vision, with my mission, with my core values. They're growing. Got great partners, great agents. I have amazing projects that I'm currently working on. Yes, there are problems, but they're great projects. There's definitely opportunity there. There's just so many things that are going my way right now. And instead of appreciating all of those things, here I am spending the entire day being in a shitty mood, being negative, complaining, and saying, why me? And here's the reason I think it all happened at the end, where I started actually thinking positively. It was the fact that I went to the gym. I don't think I would go to bed that night and think differently if I would not go to the gym. I went to the gym, I worked out, I took care of my body, I felt good, and when I started feeling good, I started asking myself questions, I started reflecting, and right off the bat, in 10 seconds, I fixed my mindset, fixed my problem. So mental health is directly connected to the physical health. And I'm not saying go get jacked up and work out every single day and everything like that. Do something in moderation. You can walk, you can jog, you can go to the gym a couple of times a week, but do something that will take care of your body, because your body is a temple, right? So mentally, we have to be right. Mentally, we have to be strong. Mentally, we have to be focused. And it all starts with physical well-being. And it also starts with the fact that you got to be in the right group of people that are supporting you, that are guiding you, that are elevating you, that are pushing you forward instead of pulling you backwards. In conclusion, here's what I want to finish with. To all business owners out there, growing a business is stressful. Having stagnant business is stressful. Having declined business is stressful. We all go through it, and no matter where you're at and what stage of the business life cycle, it is a struggle and it's stressful. But we're going to continue to push through. Because ultimately, the reason we have the business is so that we have the freedoms, we have the options in our life to do the things that we really want to do. And it's achievable, it's doable, it's possible, but we got to push through and overcome the hurdles that we're currently dealing with. So I appreciate you guys. If you enjoy this content, you enjoy this video, hit the like button or subscribe. As a matter of fact, most of our listeners right now on podcasts and also on YouTube are not subscribers. So please make sure you do that. And hopefully I'll see you next time. Take care.